I'm not sure whether you can hear that, but that is the sound of my neighbour's dog. A creature who, in recent times, has achieved a remarkable ascension, right to the very top of my hit list. Why INTJs suck at avoiding existential crises. I think if we were to truly create a utopian society, the first thing we would do is to tear it down, just to have a purpose. An INTJ friend of mine once expressed an idea that stayed with me. It's the kind of thing that only he would say, but possibly it could be extended to INTJs as a whole. He'd been spending lots of his time seeking money, and was, and is, very effective in that regard. He has a strategic mind, and a healthy dose of ruthless pragmatism when needed. He told me that he was starting to have reservations about his approach to life. Specifically concerns that money itself might not even be a thing in the next few decades. I pressed him on what he meant by that, and he explained that the quality of life might become so good, possibly including living in virtual reality most of the time, that having more and more money might not confer the same kind of advantage that it did before. He also went into some long explanations about governments, cryptocurrencies, and a few conspiracy theories thrown in for good measure. These high-level, long-ranging, and far-reaching concerns that might not even come to pass were preoccupying his mind in a way that seemed very pressing and urgent, like it was some kind of crisis. It can also run deeper as well, and come to questions about meaning. Questions like, what is the point? Or is this going to be worth it in the end? Kind of plague and haunt INTJs. They can't help but turn their gaze to the bigger picture, but also inwards too, getting into cycles of self-reflection, sometimes unhealthy ones, where they will just question everything and the meaning behind it, and might conclude, as many have, that there isn't much meaning to find. Healthy INTJs have their own motivations and values to fall back on in these situations, which act as fuel for them and their insatiable forward momentum in life. Healthy INTJs can actually often resemble optimistic nihilists. Impatient perfectionism. Perfectionism is a dream killer because it's just fear disguised as trying to do your best. Many INTJs come across as ambitious. I think it comes from the tendency to be goal-oriented and quite long-term in their thinking, so you'll often find them talking about their future aspirations. However, anyone with an intuitive sensing imbalance in favor of intuition is going to linger way too long in the theoretical and ideational stage of a pursuit. INTJs are a strange one though, because they want things to be done efficiently, so with minimal friction and time wasted, but they'll invest an insane amount of time looking for those efficiencies. INTJs can spend more time looking for the most efficient way to do something than it would have taken to just do the thing normally. I think it's because they want to not just do the thing, but solve the thing. When I have an INTJ piano student, they are looking for the best way to learn piano. They want to be given that ideal method, and as they are learning new techniques, there is this continual attempt to crystallize a pattern or underlying idea that can encapsulate what the best way is to approach it. I'll often then end up taking those ideas and using them to teach other students, whilst getting paid to do so. So INTJs are a really peculiar blend of wanting to power forward quickly, yet potentially getting sidetracked by wanting to do things in the best way. Being self-critical. Dispassionate objectivity is itself a passion for the real and for the truth. There are two types that have this remarkable ability to brutally self-criticize, probably above all others: INTJs and ENTPs. At least that's my experience of them. But it's a pretty consistent pattern. I'm not sure where this detachment comes from, but it can be quite startling to behold at times. Both my aforementioned INTJ friend and my ENTP friend have high opinions of themselves, rightly so, but will then suddenly switch into a mode of talking about their mistakes, character flaws, and blunders they've made. It's kind of jarring at times because it's like they're roasting someone else. Then you remember that they're talking about themselves. Just to be very clear, this is a strength ultimately. However, sometimes it can help to be a little bit, let's call it, irrational. And perhaps that's the wrong word. But objectively evaluating the odds is great in theory, but how do you know when you're right? You don't. The chess player Magnus Carlsen, when evaluating a position on the board, said he always leans towards assuming that he has a good position and good chances to win. On many occasions, in objectively drawn positions, where it's assumed that neither grandmaster has a decisive advantage and that a draw is the most likely outcome, he will grind his opponent down to the point where they make mistakes and lose focus, leading him to win. They describe this ability of his like getting blood from a stone. By, in some sense, overestimating his position, it causes him to play with more intensity and energy, going for the win. In his mind, there's more of an incentive there than simply just playing out to a draw. So yes, you did just hear me say that sometimes INTJs can be too objective. If you are an INTJ, then please embrace your irrationality and subscribe. It really helps both the video and the channel overall. Also, feel free to join the Love Who Discord server, where you can personally tell me why you disagree.